Midhalla.
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 Welcome back to Board Game Officer. That is right, the most unbiased review you have ever seen. And why is it unbiased? Because I have done a review of reviews, meaning I have looked at over 20 different videos, looking at reviews, seeing what people have said about it, and summarizing and bringing it to you. If you know anything about actual study reviews, this is basically the meta-analysis, but of board game reviews. Today we are going over Midhalla, as you can tell from the intro here. Real quick, an overview of what this game is. You play this game in 4 different phases. You have the exploration phase, the preparation phase, the battle phase, and then the reward phase. And you will go through each one of those phases 3 times in each chapter. When you explore, you're exploring the dungeon, flipping over new tiles, finding new events and monsters. Prepare phases when you're going to prepare your traps, prepare your troops, and you're going to spawn all the enemies. Then you're going to get into battle, where that's the tower defense, where all the monsters are coming towards you for your tower or your gate, trying to take you and or the gate down. Then when you win, you get the reward phase, you get to level up, you get some more resources, you level up your traps, and you start all over and do that a couple more times for each chapter. That there is the 30-second overview of what Midhalla is. Now, let's go ahead and just look through this Kickstarter real quick. I only want to spend a couple minutes here. So as we see, it does have over 100,000 funded right now in US dollars. 20 days ago, over 1,000 backers already. It is being very successful as a goal of 21,444, random number, that's probably converted from euros. Not doing too bad. So we scroll down here. It has some great quotes here. You've got Richard from Rado runs through the best dungeon crawler since Gloomhaven, which is a pretty strong statement, but he sticks to it. So I watched all of these guys here. I did watch all their videos and saw everything that they had to say about this game, which we'll get into a little bit later. Here is where you are doing the battle. You've got a top row and a bottom row where you activate your powers. You have these traps that, do trap things and do damage to the enemies when they come onto that space. You've got items, aid you in your battle. Here you have Rado's thoughts there. It does have miniatures for the heroes and standees for the enemies. Coming down here, we've got a couple pledge levels here. We've got the Warriors Pledge, which is the core game here, and then you've got the Champions Pledge, which is all in, which includes the Saga of Rikarl, which does add 15 hours on there, and the overall campaign is 30, so that's about half the game. That's actually a pretty good add-on there for just another $20. Actually not too bad there. This here, you can get up to 3 more copies without any additional shipping costs. So if you have friends to want to get in on this, that is how you get past the shipping costs right there. Gang up with some people in your town, find someone local, and get in all into that group pledge right there. I mean, he's basically offering that right there to you, that 0 additional shipping costs. Then this is actually really cool. You've got double-sided neoprene player mats that you could get on for extra 35 euros there. In the box, as we said, we've got the miniatures, we've got the tiles, we've got the dungeon board, tokens, all the hero maps, all the enemies here. I did listen to one of the things he said, that there's up to 40 standees, meaning there are at least 40 enemies that you could go through within it, so there's a lot of variety in there. You've got all the traps and the trap dice that just count their health. You got extra enemy boss boards. You got the upgrade tokens, the event cards, item cards, tokens, campaign book, player aid, campaign sheet. The Fenrir expansion comes up with 5 new chapters, 2 new heroes, 4 new tableaus, 4 new hero tokens, 1 new dice, 4 new hero classes as well. Basically, there's going to be 2 more boards, 1 with a hero on each side. What we have unlocked already, it's been about a week and a half to go through this. We have unlocked the teleporter trap there, which is actually pretty cool. I'm guessing that's going to send enemies elsewhere to kind of push them back a little bit. That could be super helpful. We've got a new hero already. We've got unlocked new items and new upgrade powers. Here's some more of the stretch goals. We've got how to play. I haven't made a how to play video, which will be coming out soon. There's a lot of other how to play videos, so I'm not going to talk too much about this. Go ahead and I'll put a link down below for those videos down there. You can, if you want, click on and find the rulebook so you could read through the rulebook. If you're one that likes to read the rulebook and understand if you want this game or not. The player aids are fantastic. They're very, very helpful to have on the side there. Campaign book reads really well. And then if you want to read more into the story, you got story there. Here's some more video previews and reviews here. Here are a couple of unique selling points. I don't know why this is at the bottom of the page. I feel like this probably should be a little bit higher. But there is deep strategy gameplay, meaning that's one thing that he really pushes here, is that there's no luck. All the dice you see are just for tracking health. There's no dice rolling. It is You do what it says on the card, they do what they say on their card, and it's very straightforward. Very high variety. As you saw, there's like over 40 heroes, a handful of bosses, all different type of hero and classes that you could play as. It is optimized for flexible player count, meaning anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 players. It is going to scale in difficulty, so it's not easier or harder for more or less characters that you're playing with. A whole lot of unlocks that you do throughout the game. It is kind of legacy in that aspect that you will slowly unlock more and more throughout the game. And it does have a really unique blend between the tower defense system. It's really cool how it kind of blends both those together. Why back now is, true crowdfunding. That's what this is about, is to help that and help that supporter. Backers first, meaning Midhalla will go to the backers before it goes to retail and stuff where other people could buy it. The more people that back it, the more unlocks we're going to get, therefore it's going to be the bigger and better the game is going to be. He's doing a lot of stuff to help with the community, or to get help from the community to how to build it better, so you can be part of that crew. And all the stuff that is exclusive for Kickstarter will be in there as well if you back it now. And so this is actually a really cool thing here. It doesn't say this here, but he's been doing some raids, which obviously I'm a content creator, so obviously I'm going to like it, whatever, I'm biased. But I think it's really cool. Basically what he's doing is getting people to go and watch all the videos that the content creators that have helped him. He's trying to send people to go and watch the reviews to help the content creators, because there's a lot of small creators like me who have helped him out, and he's giving back to us content creators who spent all the time in that. I think that is fantastic. I'm a little biased because I'm a content creator, but that is what it is. I think it's pretty cool. Here is meeting the team. You have Ikea Meyer, who is like the lead designer, the founder of Midhalla. Then you have Michael Meyer, which is, as it says, not family related to Ikea. I also made that mistake. I thought that was pretty cool that he put that out. Enough people have mistaken that before. We got a couple other people here on their team. You do have, oh, look at that handsome dude right there. Just kidding. I did do an interview with Ikea, so go ahead and watch that if you want to know more about like where all these ideas came from and where all the ideas that he came from. Really, really be awesome if you just put your cursor over this when you come here, bring it up to that little logo there, and just click that subscribe button. It'll help me out great. Anyways, as we go on, we also have a German interview, so if you speak German, he had a German content creator interview him as well. And the shipping is going to be anywhere from 25 to 40 euro. The rest of the world, I don't know. Nowadays, I feel like these are just hopes and dreams for these prices. I think it's been a while since I've seen an actual campaign stick to what's said on here. Take it for what it's worth. That's what he's going for, at least. That's what they're going for, at least. All right, just as a caveat, I have received a review copy. I have played the prototype, so I do have some of my own opinions. However, I just going off of what people said. I've input some of my things here, but I've just put it in the whole thing. Just me as another reviewer. I know I've got like 50, 60 different bullet points here with what people have said, and mine might be like 3 of them. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into the review of reviews. So let's start off with the pros. One thing that I've heard a couple people say actually was that the tutorial was actually really, really well. I've had some games, that say, hey, you don't need to read the rulebook, just go through the tutorial. And then you try to go through the tutorial and you have no idea what's happening, so you just end up reading the rulebook, right? This game, multiple people have said that it is not like that. At the end, you might have to go through the rulebook a little bit here and there. Overall, the tutorial does really well. The tutorial is 2 separate chapters, so that is a really good thing. I think that makes an easy learn, especially for newer people. It is very story driven, and with that, it has very good story text with it, which has been a huge positive. A lot of people said that the story is really interesting, and with that, it really feels like you're progressing through that story. The core mechanics of this game is super unique and fun. A couple of people stated that if you like dungeon crawlers, this might be right up your alley. If you like tower defense, this might be up your alley. It really does a good, unique combination of dungeon crawlers and tower defense. And of course, as stated, here, 100% skill-based co-op dungeon crawler board game. The fact that within the battle, there is 0 luck is phenomenal. I had a lot of people talk about the worries with that because, when you have deterministic battle, it almost seems like it could get really boring. Multiple people said that as they played that was completely wrong. Well, not completely wrong, but meaning that it was not that way. That the way that the heroes activate and that the way the enemies are all different and do different things and focus on different things, and therefore they're not going to attack you. They might totally bypass you. So everything can be so different each time. Even though it's deterministic, it still puts a lot of fun and different variety in the battle as well. A couple of people stated that they did play it solo and that it did turn out to be a very good solo game. However, this kind of goes into one of the negatives later, but you do have to play double-handed as of now to play solo. However, even solo-wise, they said that it wasn't too complicated to control 2 characters and that it wasn't too overwhelming to control it also was a good solo game. Even though it does say that there's no, that is 100% skill-based co-op, that there's no luck, that is just within the battle. There is enough variety and randomness within the exploration and the setup phase or the preparation phase. So don't think that it's just going to be the same thing every time. There is some good variety in it, offering that good deterministic battle system as well. One person did state that it does have a nice and clean leveling up system. It's pretty smooth, straightforward, nice and quick. It's not too confusing, and it's really rewarding as well, that level up phase. And I believe this was the Hungry Gamer that said, crunchy Yuri goodness, and Midhalla does it well. So he was really liking the way that Midhalla worked and that crunchiness of the Uranos because there was no luck system, so it has that Euro feel to it. Pretty cool there. It is really cool that they do offer both a simple basic hero, and on the other side of the board is more of a complex hero. So you could choose between which one. He did state that hero is not necessarily stronger. If you know how to play him and play him well, he can be stronger. But if you don't play him well, then he could actually be weaker. And because it's a deterministic battle, that makes it a really good puzzle system. As you're going throughout that battle, a puzzle that is really rewarding when you do it, because you know nothing was luck. You know 100% it was you that did it. It was your idea that did it that way, and it worked out fantastic. So it can be really rewarding puzzle by the end if you win, because that also means the other way, that if you didn't do well, it's all your fault. So that could be a negative. I don't remember who said it, but someone stated that they really liked that was very fulfilling for them. I'm pretty sure it was the Brothers Murph that stated that on their playthrough, through the video, they actually lost in their playthrough. However, they both stated that they still had a lot of fun, and I think that's an important thing to know in a game. Can it still be fun even though you lost? Can it still feel fulfilling and like something happened even if you lose, right? Because you're gonna lose in some games. You want to know if you're like, well, I was just stupid, like it just happened to be and it wasn't even my choice, right? It was like, oh, and so they still really enjoyed it. At least someone did say that it does have good balance between heroes and enemies, meaning like number of players, that balance is actually really good between 2 to 4 or 5 players, that one does not seem to be harder or easier. A couple people stated that once you got over that the first couple tutorial phases, then it really got, the flow of it got really quick and snappy, making it a quicker game, but still having that excitement throughout it. Once again, I think this was the Hunger Gamer that said this, but he's like, I love rolling dice, but I love the deterministic battle in this game. For what a lot of people have said, that the deterministic battle isn't as bad as what your initial thought would be of. So go ahead and go check out some of those playthroughs. He's got some of them linked on this Kickstarter, and see how that battle system actually worked. This is also one kind of interesting thing. There's actually some lore you can unlock that you do not have to read right away, right? A lot of times in games they'll say, hey, you did this, now go read this chapter while you're in the middle of a battle, but go and read this about what's happening or what's going to happen, where this lore can be read anytime outside of battle. So that's actually kind of a cool thing that he's done there. I think it was Alex from Board Game Code talked about how cool the traps were, because the traps can be so different, right? It's not just like, oh, here's a strong trap. Now, one trap might be excellent against this enemy, but that exact same trap will do absolutely nothing great against that enemy and do nothing against that enemy, right? So the traps are not just, oh, here's something else that does damage. You have to tactically plan out which trap you want where, how many traps you want there, and what's going to go on, because the traps really do make a huge difference of which ones are placed where. I'm not sure where it's at now, but it was number 4 of Kickstarter when Bauer's Game Corner went through it. It was already 4th at the popularity of Kickstarter. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is popular, so maybe that makes you want it. I don't know. One person did state that it does seem like a reasonable price for a 30+ hour campaign game. However, we'll get in there. There was some battle back and forth between that, but there were a couple people that talked about the reasonable price that wasn't too horrible of a price for what you're getting. It is pretty cool that it's got the miniatures and the standees, just because that's going to keep that price point down, and not only the price point, but also the complications during production that no one can really think about. When you've only got 6 or 7 miniatures to produce, all the troubles and hiccups that you might run into, and just printing paper, right? So, meaning for the production of it might have less of a hiccup, but so that might be a good thing. And a couple people stated about that tableau system, it makes it very simple. It's fun, and yet simple at the same time, because there's a top row and a bottom row, and you activate the top row, and then you activate the bottom row, but whatever one you activated this turn cannot be activated next turn to plan what you're doing this turn, but you want to make sure you're not covering up something you want to do. Kind of tableau system there is really kind of unique. Now, let's get on into the bad. So what people did not like about it, I kind of already talked about it once, but the one thing was that it does not have a true solo. However, because there were a couple of people who stated that, I watched the interview, one of the latest interviews. It wasn't even with me, it was after me, or maybe it wasn't after me, but it was someone else. But he talked about how, because he's had so many people talk about wanting that true solo, making to see if that is a possibility. ability, right? Because when you create it from the bottom up with having two, balancing wise can create a big obstacle. So I can't for sure promise that there's going to be a true solo, but he says he's going to try to work on it. But as of right now, there's not a true solo option. Therefore, I know a lot of solo players have a hard time with that sometimes. And right now, it is only based on campaign, meaning if you want to do a one shot, it's not necessarily made for that. Now, can you? Probably. You could do your own ways to finagle around to make it work. There's no set system to make a one-off. Now, if you really like Chapter 8, because so many different things have been unlocked, have not been unlocked, so how do you balance that out with a legacy type game like that? He did say that he's going to try to make some one-off stuff, but that one, once again, I don't know if that will happen because it does make it kind of hard. He did say that there are two side missions that could be played one-off kind of, or he said side missions or called them optional missions that aren't part of the campaign, that they might be able to be played one-shot rules or as a one-shot, but we'll see. Now, this next one is pretty particular. However, I do want to at least note this, that I think it was Kim in One Stop Co-op Shop with Steve. One of her complaints was she felt like her character just couldn't move. Like she felt very declined. However, Steve was kind of talking about that's kind of that guy's weakness. So, I don't know if that was true unbalancedness with that character. That's kind of how that character's played and she just wasn't ready to play that character. I'm not sure the real thing, but I wanted to point that out because, yeah, who knows? But it's still in development, so if it is a thing, hopefully it'll be fixed by the end, but that was a thing that someone said at least. Someone did state that the writing seemed a little shaky, meaning like grammar-wise and wording-wise. However, it was a prototype, so I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that, but that was something stated, so I want to state it too. Now, one thing that I'm not a big fan of, which I agree with someone else say to this. In this big thing, it says 100% skill-based dungeon crawl board game. Now, if you're expecting just a dungeon crawler, it is not just a dungeon crawler. Only the exploration phase feels like a dungeon crawler. The rest of it does feel really tower defense system, which here, talks about a unique co-op solo dungeon crawler with tower defense elements. So when you advertise it as just a dungeon crawler like that, not a bad thing, but just like hey, make sure people understand that it's not just a dungeon crawler. There's a lot of different elements to it. So if you go in thinking it's just going to be another, Midhalla or Gloomhaven, it's going to be quite different from that. Now, this could be a positive or a negative. I actually had one person I think said it as a negative, but a couple of people talked about it as a negative, so I put it on the negative list. But the fact that you reset after every chapter, right? Sometimes that's nice because in between chapters, there's not a whole lot of, because everything except for whatever's marked off on your campaign sheet gets just put away normal. So it could be a good thing, but at the same time, why it's on the negative list and why some people have talked about it not being a good thing is because you get so built up, you get unlocked all the levels or you've unlocked all your abilities, and then the next chapter you get rid of it all and you start over. You got a couple unlocked cards and stuff, but the whole dungeon resets, so it felt kind of lackluster a little bit in that building, that campaign. But so to each is their own, depending on how you see that, whether it's a positive or a negative. So this is a big thing that a lot of people talked about, was the prototype only had 3 chapters in it. It had 2 tutorials and only 1 full-on actual chapter. So playing it is awesome, but there's supposed to be 10 full chapters within the campaign, and there's no proof of this, but a lot of worry about how, will it become boring after the 12th play? When you're on your last one, you play the two tutorials, you're on the 10th one, or you play 2 side campaigns, and now you're on the 8th or 9th one. Is it still exciting? Is it still going to push you wanting to do more? Or is it going to kind of feel like the same thing, where, a few things change, right? So that was a couple people's worries about it, is it's just going to get that same loop over and over and over again after 10 different chapters. Once again, no one knows because they only had 2 chapters on the prototype, but just as a note. This was one sad thing too, was the tile art. Don't get me wrong, the tile art isn't bad, but the art itself does not really add anything, right? They don't connect. You could actually almost see here, you've got blue tile stuff here, swamp thing there, you got rock things there, right? So it doesn't necessarily perfectly flow and make you feel like you're in a different dungeon each time. Once again, maybe it's a prototype thing, maybe it only had so many tiles, but that was one thing that people noted, that it was just the art was good, but it didn't really draw you into the story anymore. Alex from Board Game Go did talk about because you go through the phases 3 times, right? That means you have rounds to do it. He said initially he was afraid of that because it felt very limiting. However, he actually liked it. But I put it on the negative side because even though it does kind of work, it can be a negative if that's something hey, do more and more rounds of this, where if you're limited just to those 3, it could be bad. I don't know. I guess that could be either in the good or bad. But also, as I kind of talked about before with the positives, but also as a negative thematically, is because if an enemy targets a trap, they will never hit one of the heroes. 3 or 4 heroes doing nothing on their turn while trying to get to a trap. So thematically, it's like, well, we've got 3 heroes here, yet he's just going to bypass us and not do anything to us, right? So thematically, it could be a little off. Also, one thing that's kind of sad with it being a tower defense, right? Usually in tower defense games, the more enemies you kill, the more money you get, then therefore the more stuff you could upgrade. Whether you don't get any type of economy for killing enemies. It's just a matter of survival. After you spawn everything, it's just about killing people. And then the exploration phase, you can find gold, you can find resources and stuff there, which is how he balances that. But there is no actual economy within the enemies or with killing the enemies. So it's kind of a downer with the tower, just because it's a tower defense mainly. Now the next one's coming back to the shipping, right? I kind of talked about it initially where $25 to $27 isn't horrible, but you never know what it's going to be. The shipping probably going to be a little bit more expensive, especially after all the add-ons that are going on right now in the stretch goals. This is where I get that controversy. It was actually Alex from Board Game Co. that talked about the negativity of the price point here, mainly because after you get that's even the Earbird pledge here. So even if you get this for 108 and then 25, and then after that goes up, right? So you're looking almost at $150 US, 160 US dollars after shipping, where something like Oathsworn was about the same price, but you get right. So he was not convinced on the price point as some other people were. Not to say it's the horrible price point, but it wasn't necessarily what you would hope for when it's a couple miniatures and all standees later. You would hope for a little bit lower price point, and due to that, the fact of it holding its price point afterwards might not be as good, just because, you know, you're paying $150 after shipping. That means you got to sell the base game for like at least $150 to someone else to make your money back. And whether you can sell that secondhand market is skeptical. He didn't say he didn't think so. Alex just stated that he was skeptical about it. So that's just something to note when you're going in on this. Also, Alex kind of called out Rado here. He actually totally commented. He's like, I do not feel the, how did he say? He said, I do not feel the Gloomhaven comment about this game. Right? He does not feel so strongly as Richard from Rado. So there is both sides to that coin with that comment. And last thing is, it can be quite a table hog. I mean, for Dungeon Crawler Tower Defense, I mean, yeah, it could be a negative, but it's kind of expected at this point as well. Take that for what it is. The next 2 sections that I usually like to do, sadly, I feel like the more I do these, the harder it is to find these things. The first thing is rating. Not very many content creators do ratings now. I feel like it used to be a bigger thing. Like the first one I did, I had at least like 4 or 5 people's ratings on it. Where my last ones, I feel like I have Alex from Board King Go. He always does a rating, and that's about it. I guess Bowers from Game Corner, he also does a rating, but it's kind of a little bit more on the Kickstarter of how the Kickstarter's put out, not really the game, because he doesn't review. So I only have those 2 ratings for here. Alex from Board Game Co., he only rated a 3.5. Mainly, he stated why it's 3.5 out of 5. It's just because he doesn't know where it's going to go from Chapter 3. He feel like what his review was more of a first impression review and not an actual full review. So he feel like he couldn't give it too much higher because he had a lot of skepticism about the length of it. He did say now if it comes out and he plays it and it proves him wrong, he said it could easily make it up to a 4, maybe a 4.5. But because he's kind of hesitant about what the future ones are going to look like, that he only rated a 3.5. Bowers Game Corner, he rated a B+, which is his, I think that's more about a Kickstarter, the way that's put. He did say that, you know, just watching this video that they have here at first really got him into it. So they have done really good marketing with it. And then the next point that I like to hit is who is backing. Out of all the reviewers that I watched, who said that they are going to back? And people aren't saying that either in these reviews. I don't know if it's because I watched a lot of previews and they would put just a little thoughts at the end, or what. I don't know what it was, but not very many people actually talked about saying whether or not they were backing it or not. So, but there were 2 people who talked about it. No, there actually no. Only one person kind of talked about it, and that was Bowers Game Corner. And he's like, I don't want it, but just because he wants it, I don't know if that means he's actually backing it. So that was actually quite surprised me that there weren't really many people, no one said that they weren't backing it, but no one was really saying whether they were backing it or not. So I can't really add that section into this video, but out of going through all of that, should you back this? Boiling all these points down, points that I think are the main things you should think of before you back it. One is it does sound like it could be exciting and thrilling game, that the way that they put the unique Dungeon Crawl and Tower Defense, it is going to be a very, very unique game, I think, and I think it does that uniqueness very, very well. The problem with that is it's skeptical because there's only been 3 chapters. Has it just been those 3 chapters that have been so well that it looks like it does it very, very well? But how is it the rest gonna be? So that's where it kind of like sounds great. That's the little hesitant point there. The price point is not the best, outlandishly expensive, but it's not the best either. So that's kind of in the midpoint there. So there's your boiled down point of should you back it. All right, there you go. There was the review of reviews. Tell me which one I should do next. Go down, like this video, subscribe so I can do more of these because I think they're a lot of fun trying to get all the points put together. And I think for you, the viewers, I really want this thing to explode because I think it's so good. So please share this to everyone so everyone can really get the aspect of every video that I watch down in the comments. Because yes, this gives you the overarching, okay, what is it all about? What is everyone saying about it? But what if you really like Alex? What if you really like the Brothers Murph, right? What if you really like those people and you just want to know what they said about it? Go down in the links below, watch their video so you can get what those people that you mesh with in their game style. The links are down below. Go ahead and watch their video. But please let me know what you want to see next and I will see you later.